Thank you so much for having me today. My name is Samiksha Makhijani, and today I'm here to talk about why crypto, despite of all its power, still hasn't reached its potential. And the reason is not because technology isn't ready, but the reason really is that the user experience is still not there yet. Crypto, on the other side, can be very revolutionary. Like it is fast, borderless, and it is so easy for money movement. But if you still ask people around you, like regular people, would they stake ETH or send money movement with USDC? They're still confused and don't know what they're talking about. And honestly, I don't blame them because it feels like we have really built powerful engines, but we really forgot to design the right steering wheel for them. So today we will kind of discover what exactly is the crypto landscape, why it hasn't reached its potential, and what are some of the principles and frameworks that we as product managers and designers can use to simplify the crypto products. A little bit about me before we get started. I actually started my career in interior design where I was designing physical spaces, and later I transitioned into graphic and UX. In terms of experience, in last few years, I have gained strong expertise in AI, fintech, and crypto. And I really enjoy solving complex problems and simplifying products. I am really passionate about giving back to the community because they helped me a lot in reaching where I am today. So currently, I serve as the president of AIG Miami. I am also an advisory group member for Association of Registered Graphic Design in Canada, and I am a committee member at Georgian College for Graphic Design program. So really around 2019, 2020, there was so much buzz around Bitcoin and crypto. Friends, colleagues around me, and even people who I was following on LinkedIn, they were all talking about Bitcoin and what is this new world of crypto. But as I was excited about it, I also had millions of questions in my mind. I didn't know, was it a currency? Is it a new asset? How do you buy it? Is it similar to gold? How would you store it? And what if you lose it? So because I had so many curiosity and so many questions in mind, I continued learning about the crypto space. I read articles and tried to talk to people around me. And with that, I was still working in traditional finance around that time, and crypto was a taboo. Nobody wanted to talk about or even use the crypto terminologies or blockchain in meetings. So when an opportunity came from Circle, which is a company that sits at the heart of crypto innovation, I said yes. And honestly, it felt like diving into a pool without knowing how to swim. But that was the most exciting part because when I started working in this space, it made me realize that it can be so overwhelming even for people who are already working in the finance field. I'm sure this group knows, but I want to reiterate that crypto is not just Bitcoin or Ethereum or any other token. It's a new infrastructure for money movement, which is programmable. It allows borderless and fast money movement. But the problem still is that most people around us still don't understand what crypto is and how to use it. And I think that's where we as designers, product managers, and technologists come in to really simplify these products to increase mass adoption. So you may have heard all these crypto terminologies around you, like blockchain, wallet, and gas fee. And if you are confused, just like I was, here are simple analogies. Blockchain is a public record book. It's just like a digital ledger, which is immutable. Any transaction that you do on blockchain cannot be modified or changed. And that's the beauty of blockchain. Wallet is really simple. It's like your checking account, saving account, or your Venmo account. The only difference is that if you hold the keys, you have the full control over your funds. Let's say tomorrow, if Venmo goes down, you will lose your funds. But if you hold the keys, you can always go back to chain and access your funds. Gas fee, on the other hand, is the most misunderstood one, and there's so much confusion around it. So you can think about gas fee as postage fees that you pay to send a digital package. And depending on what chain you're using, you may the gas fee may differ, and you may have to pay that. Now imagine if you had to send an email, but you also had to choose what fees to pay, what server. That would be so confusing and overwhelming. And literally, that's how crypto feels today, and we must simplify it. So in 2023, we really wanted to understand how people think about money in different regions and how they perceive like crypto. So we traveled to Indonesia just to dive more into it and understand how people thinking about this new space. And some of the insights that we received during that research were like mind blowing for me. I never thought that culture had such a significant role in how people think about money. One person said something which really stuck to me. He said that his name was Budi. He said, "Hey, I want to use crypto, but I'm really scared to lose money. I have limited savings and I have a family to take care of." And this is not just Budi's story. Like, this is like stories of like millions of people who do understand that crypto can help them build wealth, but they just don't know where to get started. And people like Budi, they really want like clarity, confidence, and simple UI, which really allows them to send money from one place to another. So Budi sends funds to his family overseas very frequently on a monthly basis. So this is the difference. Like on the left side, if he sends money with wire, what he basically does today, it takes about on an average like 3 to 5 business days and about like $30 to $50, which is a really high amount, like Indonesian rupiah. But on the other hand, if he used stable coins, which is pegged to US dollars, they are more stable and less volatile, he would just have to spend like less than like $1 and it takes about like 5 to 10 minutes. That's why crypto can be very revolutionary, but people just don't really know like how to use it. If you ask like your grandma or your mom, dad, or like your relatives living like in remote areas, they are still sending funds like with wire, which is perfectly fine, but they just don't understand the potential of crypto and how it can help them out in their day-to-day basis. There are some key principles that I've observed over the time can be super powerful when designing like crypto products. We often feel that if this is complex, we need to be transparent with the user and provide all different sort of information. That's actually not true. People do prefer clarity over complexity. And it could be something as simple as just using simple language like send instead of like broadcast transaction. People really don't know what broadcast transaction means and where their money is going. There are also things like educational blurbs. So I really like this code. Like people don't read manuals. Like if you go to ATM, you're not going to read like an instruction or a manual, but they do read what's right in front of them. To give you an example, if you're sending funds and it exactly tells you what the different statuses are and how much time it's going to take, those are like contextual advices that people trust and it builds their confidence. There are also safety nets, like when you're sending funds, you want to know, okay, what's happening with my funds? Did it go through? Was there any error? Or if they made any mistake, can they actually have like option to undo or modify some of those things? And to give you an example, like particularly when you send funds on chain, it has like multiple steps. And based on like what chain you're using, it could take up to like 15 minutes. But let's imagine if you're stuck on a screen, you've submitted your transaction, and all it says is like processing. You might be so confused because you do not know if the funds went through, if it is stuck, or if you made a mistake. So, clarity and giving them the confidence and building trust is really important when it comes to crypto products. And what we basically need to do is we need to leverage all the Web2 patterns that people are already used to. In the past, when I was working in traditional finance, we did some user testing session, and one of my favorite user was an 80-year-old lady who was living in a remote part of Canada, and she was a pro user because she does believe in the power of digital banking and finance, and she really trusted and used it on a daily basis. That's how crypto needs to feel today. Like the technology is there, we have powerful engines, but we just need to build the right product to allow for mass adoption. If you look at the adoption curve today, you can see that we're kind of like here somewhere around like early adopters and visionary because most of the crypto products that we design today are focused towards technologists or like developers who are still playing around in the field and trying to see how blockchain can be powerful. But we really haven't touched the mainstream market, which is the 80% of the rest of the people, our grandmas, moms, dads, those relatives living in like remote area. And really, to cross this bridge, this chasm, it will take a lot of like simplicity. As the adoption is rising, we also need to think about that. Okay, what does the user really need to see on the screen? How can you really provide them confidence as they're sending money? and build trust. They can just sit back and wait for like next 5 to 10 minutes while their money really moves from one account to another. And this is also on us. Honestly, like I have been working in the crypto industry for a few years now, and one of the common thing I hear from my peers and colleagues and DJN and people who are already very familiar in crypto is that this is how crypto works today, and everyone should understand it. But that everyone is really less than like 5% of the people. One thing that I can say from my experience is that when we were conducting user testing sessions in the past with like mature, very like active treasury team members who understand this space, even one out of the five users that we were testing with, they constantly reiterated that I don't understand how to navigate this. Can you please explain it to me? And that was a constant theme. So imagine if people who are already working in the finance on a daily basis, if they are so overwhelmed and confused about crypto, like we cannot imagine like regular people just to understand how things work and all the complicated terminologies and workflows. And again, I want to reiterate, this is where like designers and product managers and engineers, we all can come together and really simplify these products and make it easy and accessible for regular people just around us and common people. There are some simple fixes that we could start with to build the trust. There's a lot of confusing jargon around like crypto, and honestly, when people look at these technical jargons, they just take like two steps back because they don't know what it means. And we all know this. When it comes to money, finances, we all have like emotions attached. Nobody wants to lose money. So just using like plain language, just as we saw like in the previous example, like using the word like send, not broadcast, or like processing on blockchain, simplifying some of those technologies, and really using simple language, adopting from web to world can really simplify it. Users don't understand fees. Like when it comes to crypto, there could be different type of fees. That could be blockchain fee, that could be transaction fee. But having all these fee line items really confusing them. So if you can provide more transparency, add tooltips, and tell the user like where this fee is going, whether it's going towards the network or transaction, it builds trust within them. Again, remember, like Budi was really, he had a strong fear of losing money because he had a family to take care of. But if he can provide clear confirmation steps, just adopting from the banking technology and what people are used to, we can again provide them confidence to use this revolutionary crypto landscape and move their money, especially when it comes to sending money abroad. Wallet connection is another huge pain point. If your wallet connection has expired, people want to know, was it successful, failure, do they need to reauthorize it? Just providing them more clarity around what's happening with the different statuses can help out so much. And these are just like really simple things that we could step out with, and just relying on some of these principles we talked about. So again, if you look at the reverse one, if we really want to focus on mass adoption and making crypto accessible for all, we really need to start with simplicity. If we build simple products, just thinking about like ATM, like anyone can go in there, they can access it, and that will actually increase the mass adoption. There are two frameworks that I've really found it helpful when working in the crypto field, especially because most of the crypto companies are still like startup. There's a lot of like fast-paced environment. And the first framework that I've really found it helpful is the ideal framework, which is very similar to design thinking. So you start with an idea, you identify a problem, for example, like gas fee, how do you simplify it? And then you go on to the discovery stage where you kind of like explore how other competitors are solving this problem, what is the user flow, and where our product kind of fits in the whole workflow of the user and how they're going to spend time on that. And I highly encourage, if you're somebody like working already in the crypto field or thinking about it, definitely involve like multiple stakeholders in the discovery phase, because one thing I've learned from my experience is that in crypto nobody has like complete knowledge, but collectively we can all come together to leverage each other's expertise and build simple products. Exploration, again, there could be like multiple solutions, so explore all those options and then kind of like shortlist like top two or three that are feasible. Alignment, I cannot stress enough, this is so important. Like when I was working in traditional finance or before that, my core product partners were like product managers or engineers. But since I've moved to like crypto and exploring this area, I've realized that on a daily basis I'm talking to like regulatory compliance team, like legal team, finance team, and everyone has an opinion on like what the user experience should look like. And there's nothing wrong about it because they all come from different perspectives, and you as designer need to gather all that information and provide a simple UI to the user. Launch and learn, like many times, especially if it's like the B2B field, it can be really hard to test out these products with the users. So a good approach is to actually build an MVP that is simple enough to use, launch it out in the market and learn from it. And you can always build and improve on the faces once you have launched out the product. The framework too is, I call it like the 3S, but because we live mostly in the MVP world, I before we even launch out, I always like asking like three different questions like, is this speedy enough? Is it feasible? Does this feel safe for the users? And the most important was, is this like simple enough? And one of the things I would recommend is that if you're already working in the crypto field or again thinking about it, if you don't have access to like multiple users, because again the adoption is not very huge, try out with like your friends or colleagues or your parents and try and see if they are able to use and understand it. And if there's anything which is confusing to them, the chances are higher that many people will find it confusing, and maybe you need to take another pass at it to simplify it further. So this is interesting. In 2024, about like 830 million people were using crypto. It is estimated that by 2026, close to 1 billion people will be using crypto, which is great jump. It's about like 11% of the increase from 2024 to 2026. This really means that by this year, 1 out of 8 people will be using cryptocurrency. As the technology is increasing, as the adoption is increasing, we want to make sure that simplicity is also arising as we think about these products. And we as designers, and we can definitely create like a huge impact positively and build out the right products that can be used by like multiple people around us. So I want to kind of like wrap up by saying that crypto will go mainstream, not when it is powerful, but along the way I've realized that technology definitely increases the adoption when it feels human. Some of the easy products, simple products that we have seen around us, like WhatsApp, like ATM, like there are so many great apps out there, like banking industry itself has done like a huge improvement. And these days it is so easy to just send money, like TransferWise is a great example. So if you're really designing the products around crypto, like really focus on like simplicity. The other thing I do want to mention is that many designers are really scared to get into like crypto because they feel like it's too technical. But trust me, like not understanding crypto world very deeply is actually our strongest power, because then we come up with like fresh perspectives, and the questions that we can ask with like our stakeholders and key partners are actually the way to simplify some of these products and make crypto accessible to all. So I want to give like a fun challenge, like, after the talk, like this is like a DIY 5 minute challenge. If you haven't tried it, maybe today, like after your work, go to Coinbase app, like just buy like a small amount of USDC. So USDC is a stable coin that is pegged to US dollar. If you buy $10 worth of USDC, you will get 10 USDC. Send it to someone you love. Just enter their phone number and watch how fast it lands. And if you want to add like another fun to it, and this is something I tried it, try with your loved one if they're sitting next to you, and you will see the smile on their face as soon as they receive, on their text that they have received like a couple of like USDC, they would really be happy. And that's how you can really educate the people around you to use crypto, and particularly like stable coins for mass adoption. So with that, I would like to end up. Thank you so much, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's an interesting topic because crypto is one of those things that it keeps feeling like it's about to break through with all the recent rulings around cryptos being seen as valid securities in the US and things like that. So yeah, it's an interesting one that I'm sure a lot of people are looking forward to. So if you do have any questions, please do write them in, and I will put those questions through to Samiksha. We do have One to comment, I guess, more so than a question, but I'll put it to you from Govind. It's regulations are crypto killers. People are scared. So, what would be your response to that statement?
Yeah, honestly, there are two sides to it. Like, one way, it is really good that we have regulatory compliance because safety is a big concern when it comes to like crypto. And it is also building trust, like when you have regulatory compliance in different regions in place, people are more comfortable to use it. Like everyone who is really interested in using like crypto, they're constantly watching the news and they want to make sure that the funds are like in safe. But on the other side, like there are already like efforts going in place to simplify like regulatory compliance, like like in EU region, in Singapore, in US, there are different ways. But again, like as designers, I think we can gather all that information and really think about that how we can still build secured products but simplify it for the user so they do not have to worry about like all the technical things. Like we can really make that all invisible behind the scenes and still provide like simple and easy to use product for mass adoption.
Excellent. And I'm going to play a bit of devil's advocate because I just always like a little bit of controversy. So, I've heard it said crypto is a technology in search of a problem. And what I mean by that, or what the meaning behind that is that everybody's trying to figure out what the killer app is for crypto. And I don't know, what's your opinion on that? What is the killer app? What is crypto better at than, say, a centralized server?
Yeah, I mean, one strongest part of like crypto is having full control, and that's where like Web3 comes in. For a long period of time, like we've seen like in 2008 with like FTX, like people are really worried about their money. Like if the company goes down, you lose your funds. But there's definitely like a learning curve. Like when you want to own your keys, there's also a lot of responsibility that comes with it. And I'll share an example, something that really happened just like yesterday. Like there was this one app I was trying to log in. And maybe in the past, like a few years back or something, I may have already logged in, but I completely forgot to, like download the seed phrase or the key. And I reached out to help support and they were like, hey, I'm really sorry, we cannot recover your account. Yes, I was frustrated, but if you see it on the other side, like if I had funds, that is more secure because the companies are giving more power to you. And that's where the Web3 is like so powerful, like you own the funds, you can take care of it. If tomorrow something goes down, you can always access like your funds on chain. Again, you need to be aware of like how the technology works. And again, I want to reiterate that that's where we can simplify and really think about like the common areas. For example, like onboarding is a big thing, like onboarding, especially for B2B areas when they have to go through like the KYB process and so on. It's still not very mature. So there are definitely different areas, for example, controlling your keys, wallet management, onboarding, where really we can think about like the whole workflow and really simplify those complex workflows into simple UI.
Brilliant. And you kind of touched on a few of the points there of like the onboarding, and you mentioned that in the talk about that people aren't familiar with the crypto space, and you gave some suggestions for how to design for that. Are there any apps that are like kind of who you would recommend to kind of showcase here's best practice, here's how you can do it well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think just if I even, and I'm talking this through like some of the research. So I really like, talking to like people around me and saying that, hey, have you used crypto? And I love like hearing the response. And I think the most common that app that I've really heard about is like Coinbase because they've really simplified the experience. They've really made it easy. Like for a very long period of time, like you would just have to enter the wallet address to send funds, but it's not tricky because it can have like 18 to like 48 characters. Like nobody remembers that. And if you even miss like one character here or there, it can mess up with your funds. But I think Coinbase has done like a really good job, which now feels like, any other fintech app. Just enter the phone number. And I've tried it myself with like somebody who was sitting next to me. I sent them the funds and they were super happy to see that they received a text. Like it was so simple and so magical. So definitely there are so many opportunities where we can improve further. But in last 1 year or so, I would say that there are many companies like who are striving towards improving user experience. And now they realize, that simple products and user experience can play like such a critical role. So Coinbase is definitely one, like adapting from like Stripe. Stripe is also now integrating with like crypto. MetaMask is another one, which is I think doing like a really good job. Circle is definitely heavily focused on like B2B space and so on. So I would say like even at Zero Hash, we're trying to simplify these products. So I will say like there are many key players out in the market there who are trying to simplify it. But if I have to say what I have heard from people around me, I think Coinbase is their go-to.
Brilliant. And we have another question come in. How can we focus on accessibility in crypto? I guess it's kind of linking in with it's hard to do onboarding for people who I guess have full access to our websites and everything. What about people with accessible needs?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. There are two sides to it. Like, one is basically anything that we apply, like in user experience, for example, color contrast, like typography. We can translate that same knowledge into like the crypto side as well because they're still like products. But I want to reiterate back on some of the principles that I highlighted. And in my experience, there has been a lot of pushback. Like, I feel like like a content strategist can really play like a key role because when it comes to like technical jargons and so like we're so indulged in like how crypto works that we often forget that this is still complicated for common people around us. And in the past I've worked with like content designers and they've done like an excellent job in really nailing down and providing options which are kind of leveraged from like web to world and like banking applications and so on, which really makes it easy to understand. So definitely like two side, like constantly thinking about simplifying and making it more accessible so everyone understands it. But when it comes to like web accessibility, it is still like the same fundamentals that can be applied to any product, whether it's crypto, finance, banking, or anything else.
Yeah, it's a great point. It's just another product at the end of the day from a digital perspective, so we can reuse the same best practices that we have.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. Just looking at time, we're pretty much out of time. So I just want to thank you once again for sharing, and I hope everybody out there enjoyed it as much as I did.
Thank you so much.